Day 747 of the Ukrainian war map, also known as the Russo-Ukrainian War. Juzzy here, and today is another update as I take a simplified and down-to-earth approach to some of the most important happenings on the ground in Ukraine. So starting off, we'll take a look at those Russian losses, as currently Russia sits on more than 425,000 military personnel losses, which includes another 911 in the past day. Then as for hardware losses, 8 tanks, 27 APVs, and 23 artillery. But I think that we should start adding successful targets hit inside of Russia into this mix, because we'll head over to the map now and start out in the Russian motherland, as there was yet another large fire in the Moscow region. And another warehouse gone. According to multiple sources, the warehouse contained building materials of an unknown description, though preliminary info states the cause is an unextinguished cigarette. I am not kidding. Which means an excuse like this has the tendency to suggest that this was a successfully hit target by the AFU. But Russia had to deal with much more than that for today, with drone incursions in Oryol, Voronezh, Tula, plus at multiple times, or really multiple waves, sent to Kursk. And this is all according to regional authorities. And the image you see there on the screen is from an oil depot on fire in Russia's Oryol Oblast this morning, which is all part of an ongoing and sustained series of Ukrainian drone attacks on military assets and installations inside of Russia. Then, if you thought Ukraine called it a day after that, then you'd be surprised to know that in the Nizhny Novgorod region, another drone launched an assault on the Lukoil company, its oil depot in the Kostovo city, which subsequently experienced a massive blaze following that UAV attack. So as you can tell, Ukraine is clearly determined to take out Russia's legs in this war. Then, still within Russia, we briefly move to the Belgorod Oblast, as we see renewed signs of the Russian Legion of Freedom military units crossing the border and going into Belgorod, and potentially taking advantage of the better weather conditions as they stand. Now, specifically, this happened near Shebekino, near, I think it's Novaya Tavalzanka, there it is, which is problematic for the Kremlin. They have to put more resources into this zone to stamp it out, and once they do stamp it out, we've seen it before, they just pop up somewhere else. And so, technically speaking, what we're looking at here is this military unit, the Freedom Legion of Russia, they're literally coming for the Kremlin and picking up new recruits on the way. But that one is a very recent update, so little more is known as current. Then, still more problems in Russia, as it appears a Russian Il-76 military jet caught fire in the air in Ivanovo, which is the oblast, a good 700-800 kilometers northeast of Ukraine, and appeared to crash shortly thereafter. Looks like not maintaining those planes and overusage is really starting to show. Now this, once again, happened very recently, so little more is still known about this event so far. Then, into the Ukrainian map we finally go, as there's been a few small changes on the map, starting just north of Ivaniska at Botanivka, if we can find that one there, where the armed forces of Russia were pushed back marginally. In fact, I'll just go backwards and forwards in time, and you can see where that little spot is, that little hump. Then, moving much further south, as Russia made their own marginal gains just southeast of Novelska, which is about halfway between Avdiivka and Marinka, say, so we'll zoom in there for that one as well. Pop into the date map as well, so there you go. Of course, as you can see there in the green, Ukraine had previously liberated that zone, so it would start as Ukraine had the land, Russia took the land, Ukraine liberated it, then Russia took some back. But perhaps most interestingly in this region is how a Russian instructor describes Putin's tactics in the west of Avdiivka. highlighting significant operational difficulties despite the former reported progress. So basically, he states a lack of coordination and communication among units, which leads to confusion and disorganization on the ground, resulting in ineffective offenses and unnecessary troop losses. He also stated in some parts that troops sit in a basement like rats from the war-torn towns, and they don't even know who the units are just 100 meters down the road from them are. Plus that their comms are atrocious, and if they're looking to find somebody, they have to walk around a destroyed village yelling out for their own people's names and hoping that they will hear. And then this guy also mentioned that he doesn't understand the woeful tactical choices of command and feels like they're just pointing fingers on a map without the use of intelligence to decide which is the best location to actually stage an offensive at. Just wow. I literally said that just a few months ago myself. Then moving a bit further south, as we saw a lot of scattered enemy vehicles after another failed armored assault at Novomikhailivka. Now, if these were all new modern vehicles getting destroyed over and over, well then we'd have ourselves a different set of concerns. But these are all pretty much the same few many decades old vehicles over and over again, inherited from Soviet stocks. So these unsustainable finite resources are particularly wasteful. And I do very much bet that someone's too scared to tell Putin that their fields of the old Soviet stockpiles are slowly but surely being emptied of their operable light and heavy armor. Not that they have the industrial capacity to replace them en masse. Then, somewhere in the east, the Ukrainian National Guard, so their 3rd Brigade, aka the Spartan Brigade, stops another enemy column using FPV and artillery, resulting in catastrophic explosions of 4 vehicles. Then, also in the east, the 46th Airmobile Brigade repelled a Russian mechanized attack in the eastern direction, leading to the destruction of at least 6 heavy pieces of equipment. But then also, and impressively, near Marinka, we saw the results of a Ukrainian FPV munition flight into a Russian TOS-1A thermobaric multiple rocket launcher, causing a massive detonation. Then moving right across to some of the most western front lines that you could possibly imagine, as Ukraine's Air Force has targeted a makeshift enemy command center at the western end and southern side of the Dnipro River. So this targeted ship has been used as an observation post in recent times by the Russian forces, although your first question might be, what on earth is a ship doing as a command post close to frontline activity? Well, that ship was actually stranded there after Russia destroyed the Kakhovka Dam in a panic some time ago after losing the northern bank to the Ukrainian forces. So almost like a shipwreck. And so since Russian forces more recently decided to set up an observation point and electronic warfare system on the ship, its days were clearly numbered. Then headed across to some news for the day. So 12 Ukrainian pilots are expected to be combat ready for flying F-16 fighter jets by summertime, after training in Denmark, Britain and the US. However, so far only 6 jets are expected to be operational within Ukraine during the mid-year. Also, a new training center is preparing in Romania for the arrival of Ukrainian pilots to learn flying F-16 warplanes. So these highly capable multi-role fighter aircraft would help Ukraine to contest Russian air superiority and protect Ukrainian airspace from Russian airstrikes. They can also be armed with a variety of air-to-ground precision munitions. But specifically on the first point mentioned, their use of the AIM-120Ds, the air-to-air missiles, which have a range that is comparable, if not a tad more, than the Patriot PAC-2 missiles. So these AIM-120Ds have a range of about 180 kilometers. Although the jets can be deployed much quicker based on the needs of the airspace at the time as they perform their beyond visual range air-to-air engagements. Really nifty stuff. Then in some other news, Ukraine's intelligence chief, Bodanov, is back in the spotlight with an ominous promise that, quote, goes, Ukraine is preparing for a serious operation in Crimea. But then he also said that a lot of people living in Crimea would feel like they've been abandoned by Ukraine, but that this is not the case. He also stated that what we currently see in Crimea is all preparatory measures for a serious operation in the peninsula. So, putting 2 and 2 together, my guess is that, with or without German Taurus missiles, the AFU will probably inundate Russian air defenses, cut supply lines, and more or less make a run for the place. Oh, not to mention the fact that the future prospects for the Kerch Bridge, or the Crimean Bridge, are looking shaky at best. Then heading across to a quick military blunder segment today, guys. So Russian soldiers from the world's second army show how they're getting drinking water on the front lines. And we've seen it before, so not much to this one, but I bet they were coming to Ukraine to loot some treasures in paradise. Evidently not. Then moving across to a quick funny to round it all off for today, guys. So a bill has been introduced by the Russian State Duma to invalidate the historical decision to transfer Crimea from Soviet Russia to the Ukrainian SSR. Gee, what other events are they unhappy about that they'll try to invalidate next? Or taking back Alaska? Hopefully not, because that's a done and dusted deal from back in 1867. And so, as for Crimea, back to Crimea, this is just some more BS wrangling to try to give some kind of justification for the events unfolding. And it clearly comes from a defensive place of a scarcity mindset, where they're worried they'll lose the peninsula to Ukraine. Oh, and that's another thing. It's called a peninsula for a reason. It's a piece of land surrounded by water that's connected to a larger landmass on just the one side. It doesn't physically connect to Russia at all. And so here Russia goes, trying to rewrite history once again. So thanks for watching today, guys. Please continue to like and comment. I do see it, and I really do always appreciate it, and all of the support, of course, as well. So yeah, thanks again, and I do hope to see all of you guys there in the next one. Cheers.